Hello, everybody. I am Ron Miscavige, and this is another edition of Life After Scientology. And we have a very important show for you today, very enlightening, and it's a subject that I think bears bringing up because I don't think anybody's ever gone into it in this much detail. I have my guest today, your favorite guest, by statistics, not just because she's a good friend of mine and I'm saying it, Karen De La Courier. Good morning, Karen.
Hi, Ron. Hi, everybody. Hello. The
Okay.
subject is money.
Let me get a little business out of the way and then we're going to get into it. All right. Okay. So listen, just please do me a favor, everybody out there. If this is a first time viewer, please subscribe. You don't want to miss any of these shows. And when you subscribe, hit the bell so when we have a new show, you'll get notified. And the other thing is this, if you care to help with the ongoingness of this show and the other ones I do, because I do other things, please become a patron, or you can make a one-time donation, and all the information as to how to do this is right in the description of the show. Okay, so business out of the way. Okay, I'll tell you what. Why don't you bring up what we're going to talk about today? Because we went over this, and I'll tell you something. What goes on within Scientology in respect to this is almost like a vampire cult, but they're not sucking blood, they're sucking money. And I'm very gracious when I put it that way, because many of the people who have been preyed upon end up in not very good condition. And Karen is going to get into this. So why don't you kick it off, Karen, okay?
Yeah. Now, in 1977, when the FBI raided 3 locations of the cult, they took away a massive amount of Guardian Office documents. And as a result of that, in 1979, 12 very senior executives pled guilty to criminal acts, to theft, to infiltration of believe it or not, 136 government agencies were infiltrated by 5,000 covert agents. Now, money was needed for legal, even though they had top US attorneys going after the cult. When you're indicted,
yeah,
12 of your top honchos on the way, money was needed. So they invented an entity called Safe Environment Fund. Safe environment means make the cult safe for its criminal acts. But after 1979, they pled guilty. These 12 went off to jail. That was the end of that. How could they continue to ask money, which they were hitting people up for, to defend top Scientologists, including Jane Kemba, the Guardian,
right,
deputies? So as the Safe Environment Fund fizzled, also known as SEF, Safe Environment Fund,
right,
they had to dream up a reason to get money for nothing. I think that auditing and training and all of this is way on the back burner compared to the top guns in the cult learning to suck out and extort money from you endlessly. I mean, endlessly. The rebirth of SEF, Safe Environment Fund, was the IAS, International Association of Scientologists,
right,
which is essentially an entity that absolutely, by hook or by crook, tries to get money out of you. Did I send you the platinum card and the black card? Can you read?
Oh yeah. Well, no, I don't have it here, but this is what they would call a clever idea, and we would say is a clever criminal idea. What they did is they have different colored credit cards that go anywhere from like maybe pink or white up to a black card. Like the first one would be a credit card that you give to them, and they're allowed to take maybe up to $50 a month out of your credit, or just charge your credit card. You're giving them permission. And then the next one would be maybe $100 a month, up to 100. Maybe the next one, which is a different colored card, would be up to $250, up until the black card. And I think that one is, you're proud to carry this. Like if you're with friends and you're in Scientology, you could say, well, I have this card. In other words, they are allowed to take $5,000 and up each month off your credit card, and you give them permission to do that.
They have all your banking information. Now, the black card is a copycat of American Express. You can have platinum, it's pretty high, not just gold, green. And then the black card is when you can just spend $250,000 in Las Vegas in 2 seconds, and they won't even check your credit because you're showing this black card, which shows that you are in a league of high rollers. So the black card is a copycat of them. If the cult has given you a black card, it's a knockoff of the American Express. It means you are letting them take, what is it, $50,000 a month?
No, I think the minimum would be $5,000, but it goes any amount you want after that.
So you flash out these cards to show you're a monthly donor. This is a status.
But wait, and that's like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Between other Scientologists, they're supposed to go, wow, you're really something. You're giving that much. But you're duped. You're completely duped. What do you get from that? I'll tell you what. You see this? You get a piece of paper like that says you're a wonderful person and a bowling trophy.
Well, I want to show some trophies. Am I holding this correctly?
Yeah, it's exactly perfect. Yeah.
The more money you give, the bigger the trophy sometimes.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
People love to stand on a stage where they get a standing ovation of 2,000, 3,000 Scientologists, because what did they do did they help anyone? Did they help a single person? Did they help a single orphanage? Did they help a single vet that came back from the war with legs blown up? Did they help anyone at all? No. They get a gory trophy because they gave mega bucks to the cult. Here's a lineup of trophies.
Yeah. Yep. Karen, I'm going to tell you something. It's almost unbelievable that we have to give them credit for this. It probably is one of the most clever scams ever in human history, that you get scammed out of your money, but you're proud of it. You're in a state of mind put that way by the technology of the church, so that they're able to screw you out of large sums of money for nothing but man, you're so great. You're really a great person.
It is.
It's unbelievable. You got to give them credit. You got to give them credit.
Because people wonder, if it's such a small little dying cult, how can they have $3 billion in IAS? Well, it's a vulture culture. And I'm going to give a little plug for Mike Rinder's blog, because if you go to Google and put in Mike Rinder IAS, you will see several essays that will be highly educational, much more so than Ron and I can put in a half an hour talk. So if you want to learn about one of the biggest scams of Scientology, please go read that. I want to give you a case history of a guy who gave gobs of money to IAS. His name was Richie Acanto.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a runaway successful company on car insurance called Survival Insurance. This is a trophy that Richie Acanto received from the cult. And there's a big story on this, so I'm showing you the trophy.
Yeah.
Well, so if you were a dangerous driver, if you had 3 or 4 moving violation tickets, let's say you totaled a couple of cars, go to survival insurance, they would insure you when no other insurance company would take you.
Right.
You can't drive in most states without insurance. It's illegal if you're called up. So Richie made gobs of money, and he then didn't pay his staff for 2 years. They were scrambling just to survive. All the money went to the cult. They could walk in there and they could just wipe out all the money he made. So eventually, Richie Acanto went bankrupt. He had this fancy house in Bel Air, which is adjacent to Beverly Hills. House went into foreclosure. Business survival insurance went into foreclosure. And this guy, he gave one donation, which was $10 million. There was a lot of shady. He ripped off some Iranians who poured in some money. Anyway, millions to the cult. And then a few years ago, Richie Acanto is going around with a beggar bowl trying to get a little donation to simply survive. But the cult has the money.
Yeah.
The cult never refunds.
No.
Never refunds. And
No.
all these lawyers, when you give a donation, it's gone with the wind.
Yeah, I remember this. His office was around Fountain and L. Ron Hubbard Way.
Yes, exactly.
And the name Survival was there. And when you give money to the IAS, it's like the Roach Motel. You can check in, but you can't check out. You can give money no matter what you do. If you were dying and you needed 10 cents to give to somebody because you were short, just 10 cents, you wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
It is that vicious. It is that bad. And Richie Acanto, what am I going to say? He was successfully brainwashed into thinking he was doing the best thing he could do in his life. Otherwise, you don't do something like that. You got to be put in a state of mind, just like there are people now, which I'm sure you're going to get into. Some of them, there's a trio of people, and you're going to get into that, or you want to put that a little later? It's up to you.
The thing is that some people who gave just millions to the church absolutely fell flat on their faces. And they have this thing called IAS Freedom Medal.
Right.
Tom Cruise is probably the most, they called Freedom of Valor.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it's called?
It is. And I'll tell you this, if you put that around your neck and you walked around for a week, your back would be out. That thing is like walking around with a barbell plate on it. Did you ever see it up close? Because I did.
Oh, you saw it up close?
If you could swing it around and use it as a mace or something. Yeah, it's big.
Was it solid gold?
No, it isn't. Yeah. I really don't know, but I think it's just like the other ones where it's sterling silver, but then they gold plate it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so part of the scam that they extort all this money from is when you're a very high roller and you give a few million, you can have a photo op taken with David Miscavige, your son.
Right.
And you can be on the cover of Impact magazine. And you can be on stage with David Miscavige. This means that you've given millions. And you can kneel down and kiss his ring. Oh, God. Oh. Do you know that some people say that giving these millions gives them case gain?
I've heard that.
Do you know what case gain? I need to translate that for a global audience.
Yeah.
When you go into therapy, you're supposed to win and get gain. When you go into Scientology auditing procedures, you're supposed to get wins and gain. Gain means spiritual gain.
Right.
So this has now been spun to say, when your bank account gets emptied by the cult, now they never tell you they've got 3 billion in IAS. While they're sucking out every last dime from you, their bank account balance is $3 billion just in IAS alone.
That's just a lot of money.
People think, because they make it a dire emergency, the planet is going down.
Yeah.
This, and the promises that IAS make are nebulous, complete fluff and froth. They're going to make Earth a safer place. Ooh. How safe is planet Earth currently?
Yeah.
So give your money and they're going to make Earth a safer place. How is that for a scam promise?
You know, it's a lie, but it's what they would call, I guess, an acceptable truth, a lie. But the point is that you get people's mind in a condition to accept this. That's the real harm here. And we're going to talk about the medal winners now. There's a couple of them I think you wanted to bring up that,
well, the medal
disasters
directly related to IAS scams, because
Yeah.
it's an IAS award. The medal is
Right.
from the International Association of Scientologists, so it's all
Yeah, of course.
married together and tied together. There was a guy who was very, very big called Dennis Clark. He
Yeah.
was a big, giant hulk of a guy from Hawaii. And he was he was the president of CCHR. CCHR, Citizen Commission on Human Rights, is the arm of the church that absolutely attacks psychiatry morning, noon, and night, and exposes every nook and cranny of any psychiatric misdeed. And there are psychiatric misdeeds.
Yeah.
There are, but this is a absolute wing of the church that does nothing else but beg for money to eradicate psychiatry, which, by the way, the cult has promised for 40 years. We've covered that in an earlier show.
Yeah.
We've covered that. I mean, we've said psychiatrists are medical doctors, MDs who are trained for them. And, you know, in a quick little research, there's not one medical school that has shut down
I know.
psychiatry. We covered that in an earlier show. So Dennis was this, he would do shows and he would debate psychiatry, and he was quite a hero back in the day.
You know, he was a powerful speaker. I don't know if you ever heard him speak in person, but
Yeah.
he was very powerful, very charismatic, and he had this big body, which he had a lot of impact when he talked.
Yeah.
Very robust individual.
Yeah, but you know what? After all the years he did it, and he got this glorious medal and a standing ovation
Right.
and all that. And then, you know, he crashed and burned. He was living out of his car.
Yeah.
He was only able to shower by using public bathrooms, and he got very disillusioned. And for all his years in the church and winning the freedom of Medal of Freedom and this and that, he had to set up a GoFundMe to pay for his medical while he lived on the streets like a hobo.
Mm.
The reason I'm just telling the story of Dennis is, you look at all the glory and fluff and froth they put out in the magazines.
Yeah.
Then you lift up the curtains and look at the actuality of what happened. I will tell you, there's more than one freedom of medal, freedom medal winner who ended up begging for cash in GoFundMe fundraising.
Yeah.
Do you know the cult that sits with $3 billion won't cough up one little donation
No, I know that.
anyone medically?
Yeah.
Scientologists who've been extorted down to the bone must now give more money for the new GoFundMe. These new GoFundMe are every week, Ron. There are people with cancer and people with weird terminal illnesses begging for money. But the cult has already drained them of everything. And you know, it's so humanitarian for the cult who gives out humanitarian gaudy trophies will not in any way be humanitarian and give a donation to their own parishioners progressing towards terminal.
I know this, and we brought it up in a prior interview, and I brought it up. I think you may have brought it up too, that the one thing missing that's pretty much a common denominator of other actual religions, the one thing they have in common, no matter what their reflections on who the supreme being is or whatever they want to believe in, the one thing they all have in common is compassion. And that is one thing that is missing in the Church of Scientology or the cult of Scientology. There is no compassion for their fellow man or their fellow parishioner.
Yeah, it's strange because a religion, the very definition of religion, would think that love, compassion, kindness, generosity from the heart, benign conduct, and a lot of love. And Scientology's virtues and principles are the opposite of that.
I know.
Mercy, no kindness, no humanity. Attack, never mind love, attack.
Yeah.
I mean,
they excuse it because the people who aren't doing well now are downstat, and they have to raise themselves up by their own bootstraps. Even though maybe the reason they're a downstat is they mortgaged their house and went bankrupt because of the big donations. That doesn't mean anything. The guy's downstat. You got to be an upstat before we're looking at you as a decent person.
Yes.
You know, I had a friend, Dennis Dubin. We got in Scientology together.
Oh, Dennis.
And Dennis Dubin got a Freedom Medal.
Yeah.
I don't know if he attained OTA, but dear friend, he was a great guy. I mean, we had a hell of a good friendship and just enjoyed each other's company. The guy died from cancer.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he needed money for his cancer treatment, but with all the technology that's applied to you, you're no better off than a person who has never walked through a door of Scientology. You'll either get it or you won't get it. And it doesn't matter if you're OT8 or OT78, you know?
Yeah, there's something really strange about who they pick for these glorious medals. There's a black guy called Tony Muhammad who got awarded this Medal of Freedom.
Yeah.
And he is intensely anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitic. Now, in Mexico, there is a strong, tight-knit Jewish community. And there's a guy there called Marcus who gave $5 million to build an AOLA. There was a shopping mall already in existence, like a strip mall, and $5 million US, not Mexican pesos.
Right.
Marcus is Jewish. And I wonder, Scientology has a mission in Israel. What do these top Jewish people think of Scientology giving Muhammad a Medal of Freedom award and a standing ovation when he just spouts anti-Semitic rhetoric
And,
over and over and over.
and you can see this on the internet, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
You can see him talking what he says about the Jews. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah. But he's a Freedom of Medal winner.
I know.
There's something unbelievably strange about that. It defies reality. So the other thing I wanted to cover in terms of these medal, there's a famous Australian called Wendy Honors. Did you ever?
I met her because you remember I used to go there with the band and we would play at the IAS Freedom Medal Patrons Ball. And I would see all these people. So I met a lot of people there that I wouldn't have if I wasn't a musician. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Wendy went to OT8.
Yep.
She got this medal. She was a big disseminator. And then she announced her departure loudly on the internet. It wasn't just that she won this award as this top Scientologist. It's that she did all the levels up to OT8. And then she declared it over and over to be a total scam. Now, here's an example of someone who was made to be an internal hero.
Yep.
And an OT8 that's doing everything the cult asks you to do, all the levels. And she then declared it to be a scam. You see, it's not just 2 or 3 people who are disaffected. They tend to say, oh, this person had an axe to grind or whatever. No, this is over and over and over.
Yeah.
Again, you know.
And well, Wendy Honor had the courage to come out and do that. And that took some courage because a lot of people will get to that point, realize that they've been screwed over, but don't have the courage to say, you know what, I was wrong. I was wrong. That'll stick in their throat because you spend a good part of your lifetime, maybe all the money you've ever had during the period you were in Scientology. And for you to come out and say, hey, I got screwed over, so I'm going to tell you about it. That takes guts. And boy, I'll tell you, she's a nice person too. Yeah. She's a very straight shooter, you know.
Yeah. She had integrity.
Yeah, she had. That's the word. Yeah, that's a good word. Integrity.
Yeah. Since you met so many, because of being the musician on the line, do you recall someone called Andre Shapers?
Absolutely. The unique thing about Andre was he had these high top boots, not boots that you just slip on, but you lace them up, and they call them high tops. And that would, to me, that hit a bell because when I was a kid, of all the things I wanted, 2 things was this: a horse and a pair of high top boots. But yeah, Andres, and he was a crusader. He'd march down the street with those boots, you know, in all kinds of weather.
Yeah.
Just a real crusader, completely brainwashed, completely.
I think he was Dutch.
He was Dutch, yeah.
He was Dutch. And there's another guy who just promoted and begged people to give money and did sales agent work for the IAS for a long time.
Yeah.
And then he crashed and burned, and he did a GoFundMe begging for money. And the reason I just give a little snippet of his story, Ron, is not one, he worked for the church 20, 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
Not one thin dime came from their big war chest, which we now know is $3 billion sitting in. Billion with a B. Billion. Yeah. Not 3 million, 3 billion. no generosity, no humanitarian, nothing given back to Andrei. And he dropped dead. I don't know how much he got from the GoFundMe.
Yeah.
It's really embarrassing. I don't know if the cult realizes how embarrassing it is that these top household names of Scientology go begging on GoFundMe for a little cash to handle their medical as they're dying off, progressing towards terminal.
Wow.
Don't you? I feel embarrassed just saying. They embarrass themselves. Every week there's a GoFundMe and somebody else is dying off and they're begging for cash because their money has already gone to the cult and their penance.
Okay, then I'll give you the answer to that. No, they don't feel embarrassed at all. Because when you have that attitude of arrogance that they know better than everybody, that person who got in that position pulled it in. That's what they would say. What did they do on the backtrack to pull that in? Yeah. So that handles everything. Yep, there you go. Well, that's sorted because this guy's dying. Well, he pulled it in. Now, let me ask you something. Here we are. We're talking on not television, on the internet. And I can tell you, sometimes when I do analytics, I'm in 50 countries. What did they do to pull in me? That's my question. What did they do to pull in you? So they pulled us in, Karen. So here we are. And I think that's a good way to wrap up this particular episode. What do you think?
Very good. Now, lesson learned.
Yeah.
When you see a glorious picture of someone, that is only a snapshot in time. What we've looked over is after the glory and the standing ovation and the blue ribbon and the medallion around their neck, when you move forward and get more data, their lives after getting this IAS award isn't like a Nobel Peace Prize.
No.
And they're not given any cash like the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, no kidding.
No, cash is, as you say, one way. So the lesson is there's a bigger picture. There are many pieces of the jigsaw puzzle missing when you see a glorious image in Impact magazine. That's not the end of the story. The end of the story is they have a GoFundMe 2 years later because they don't have a pot to piss in.
Yep.
Because all their money has gone to the cult. They're drained. And now that they have high medical bills, they have nothing. Zero in their bank account.
That's the lesson to be learned. And the other lesson to be learned is this. Follow this program because you're going to find out things that you wouldn't know otherwise. If you care to help out, you can become a patron or you can do a one-time PayPal donation. The description of how to do this is in the description on this video. But above all, please, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. And we'll continue to give you notifications when we put on a program. I hope you've been enlightened by today's interview.
Let me endorse what Ron, my host, Ron Miscavige, is in his 80s. And after serving the cult for some...
On staff, 26 and a half years.
On staff in the Sea Org for 26 and a half years. He left with no 401k, no pension, no goodbye settlement, nothing. So he walked away from serving this cult with nothing. And so I really endorse that you support him even with a one-time donation. I really support that.
Well, I thank you very much for that donation, for that recommendation. But I'll tell you this, I'm above ground and I'm talking and I have wonderful people on like Karen to help expose them. that is what I want to do more than anything. And I don't wish them well. Well, actually, I don't wish them well, but I don't wish them that bad of a thing. All I would like to see is them lose their tax deduction and then sell their products for what it can deliver to the customer. And let's see how they do based on that, rather than con people into just giving money for recognition and a piece of paper that says you're a wonderful person and a big bowling trophy. I don't want to keep talking because I think we've made our point.
Ron, you know, there are so many more case histories on the IAS.
I know.
Case history. So I'd like to do part 2 of this. Come back in 2-3 weeks and do part 2 because I didn't even get through my bullet points. So invite me back to do.
Okay. Well, let me check on.
IAS cat.
Let me check on something. Here's Frank. This is my little cat. Frank, should we get Karen back for part 2? Yeah, he shook his head. Yes. Okay, you're going to be invited back. Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Goodbye to everybody. God bless all of you. I wish you all the best. A happy, successful life, and please tune in. We'll see you again. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.